I just got excited back there because I thought I saw a white model on one of these advertisements, but it ended up being an Asian lady. Yeah, I noticed that when I moved here in 2016, which was, I think, really ground zero for the we must eradicate white people agenda that probably isn't going to turn out too well. But yeah, so all these stores, like you can see right here, I just happened to be standing here. I didn't plan this. Yeah, there's no white models. And any of these places you go to, up and down Kalakaua here, Victoria's Secrets, H&M, Louis Vuitton, Jimmy Choo shoes, just anywhere where there's a large, like, advertisement like that, where there's a model, no white people, not one. You won't find one. If you live in this area and you happen to watch this, I'd be prepared to make any wager you'd like to, if you could find one on one of these windows. You won't. You won't. You won't. It's alright though, who cares? Yeah, I think what happened is, I was listening to someone, John Levy was talking, was it John Levy? I don't know. They're talking about how their plans were sped up, like they sped their plans up. No, it wasn't John Levy, it was someone else. He was just talking about like how, people are clapping back with these protests and stuff because they've just had it with the mask thing. And they moved too fast. They gotta roll this stuff out slow, and they moved too quickly. A couple of factors as to why people were starting to look into the whole child sex trafficking thing, which is big here. Actually, just regular plain old human trafficking is big here. But something had to be done about that, and the rabbis have been putting a lot of pressure on the guys that work as administrators for this realm. There's a great video that it still might be on YouTube, where they corner Netanyahu after a speech, all these like serious looking rabbi guys, about how we have to speed the timetable up. They want the Messiah to come back. Their Messiah isn't our Messiah at all. Their Messiah has promised them some things. And by them, I'm talking about, of course, the Khazarian mafia, who call themselves Jews, but they're not actually Jews. That was probably their first big deception that they've used to protect themselves from all the evil shit they have to do in service of their master and the deal they made with him, the soft-handed piano player, who has many names because he has to keep a lot of aliases because he's always getting in trouble. So that's why he has many names. When someone has many names, it's not something to be proud of. They always say it like, oh, the beast with many names. Yeah, I know a lot of people with a lot of aliases too, and it's not because they're cool. So anyway, some kind of deal was made with him at some point. It's the same deal that he offered Jesus in those pictures, those old Gustafsson paintings where it shows the devil and Jesus on a cliff, and the devil is pointing down at the city. There's been a lot of different variations of this, and he's basically saying to him, I can give you anything here. It can all be yours, anything here in this realm, because it is his realm. The specifics of that I don't really get, except I know he got this place, and he controls what happens here. So he needed an inside guy, other quote unquote humans or whatever, or I don't even know about that term. That's what they tell us we are. I think the human is more the body, the vehicle we're in. We're not humans. We don't have anything to do with that. But that's just what they call us. But the piano player had to get like people that worked inside to turn on his own people, to sell his own people out, which is what goes on in this state a lot. You know, they do that a lot. They've been doing that since the illegal occupation began. I'm not going to get off on a tangent here, but I was on Quora, of all places. I answer questions there sometimes with, you know, just weird stuff that I'm into. And there was a bit of a discussion going on about the occupation, because that's what it is. It's an occupation here. The U.S. doesn't own this place. And from the day in the 1800s that the U.S. Began their occupation physically, I think it was July 17th. It wasn't 1700s. It was, oh no, it was. I don't know the exact date, but they landed Marines, 140 of them, or whatever were Marines back in that time. And the occupation, there's a page on Wikipedia for it, for the conflict, for the day they took the islands. And not only is there not one casualty of the whole event, one injury in the whole taking of the islands, which is kind of weird. It doesn't really jibe with the people, you know, when you get, when you see the people in modern day Hawaii here. I mean, they seem to have a lot of resentment and hatred toward white people, which I understand. But if they're so eager to kill a haole and all this stuff, what happened on that day? Everybody's just like, no resistance at all. You know? I mean, I know it's not the current people's fault that this happened, but it's like, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. No one resisted. No one threw a rock. Anything? I mean, they're taking your land, right? I mean, they're occupying your nation, and nobody resisted at all. That one wounded person could have been a guy tripping on a rope. I know people would get really mad about hearing this, but I'm not making it up. It's not like my opinion. This is just a fact. I mean, you can find this information. They have a whole breakdown of the whole final conflict where they imprisoned the queen, a princess, in her palace. Her name, I'm having an Alzheimer's moment on her name. There's a park with her statue right up here too. Princess K. Chicholani. I don't know. Well, whatever. That's Alzheimer's for you. But yeah, they imprisoned her in her palace, and I think there was like 500 royal guards that were there to fight on the side of Hawaii in different barracks. 200 in one area, 300 in another, 300 at the palace itself. And there was no conflict. There was no skirmish. There was no fight. They did, however, get signatures, 30,000, that said, we'd like you not to do this, which I don't know. I'm not like a military person, but that doesn't seem like a very good tactic, really. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a lot out of that. So it doesn't square with the people today who have this rage and this fire, and in some cases, if there's enough of them at the bus stop and one of you at the bus stop and they can get away with it, they're going to pummel you. So where were they then? Like, where was that then? So all I can think of is maybe there were people that were in the community that had some kind of power in the community or some kind of influence in the community that were bought off. Much like the same way the Khazarians were to turn on their own people, their own humanity. Because we see that here in Hawaii a lot. Aid that comes in for people, whether it's federal or, you know, for a storm or disaster. The money ends up with these warlords. I did a video of explaining how Hawaii is laid out. And it's basically just a series of warlords. That's what it is. I don't know if that's because legally there's certain things that can and can't be done, because this is not a U.S. state. They don't own it, really. It's still an occupation. It's never legally been taken. But the fact that everybody just laid down on that day just doesn't make sense. I don't think that's possible. It can't be. Now, of course, when Kamehameha brought the islands together to stop them from warring against each other, it did defang a lot of the warriors, because some of the Hawaiian warriors are some of the fiercest fucking dudes you'll ever meet. Shark tooth fucking weapons. They had this one thing. It looked like salad tongs. And the idea of it was for head removal. Wild shit. They had some really vicious weapons, and they were killing each other for many, many years. Like each island with their tribal leaders. Kamehameha brought all of the islands together in a united Hawaii. And when he did that, the need for a standing ready army of soldiers with shark-tooth swords dissipated. They didn't really need to have that anymore. So I think that's kind of what got rid of all the warriors. And less than 100 years later, they had the island taken. Coincidence? I don't know. Are they related? Maybe. Here's a princess right here. When I first moved here, I thought it was some kind of local tradition to leave garbage at her statue, because there'd always be pizza boxes and stuff. I've watched guys, I watched them, and they were looking at me, and they put a can down and just keep going, like, there you go, haha. It's like, I think you just fucking owned yourself, buddy. You didn't play anyone. Yeah, usually her statue's got a lot of trash around it. Sure, yeah. Yeah, her house was here. She had her house here. And it was a good spot to have a house. Like right where this was her house. And it's a great spot for it because the wind that comes down from the mountains keeps it nice and cool going through here. If I got the right princess, her dad was Scottish. Her father was a Scottish guy. There's a lot of streets here named like they're white guy names. A lot of them. It's kind of weird. This whole history for Hawaii, if you look into it, if you study it at all. And when I first moved here, I manically started going through its history, trying to learn as much as I could, because I didn't want to look like a fool if I talked to local people. I wanted to look like I knew a little bit. Well, it turns out they don't know anything either. And the problem is I would know more than them. And a lot of times they would see that as like disrespect somehow. Like I was trying to show them up or something, and they'd get upset. So, yeah. I still kept looking into it and learning about it, but I just kept it to myself. But yeah, getting back to the Khazarian mafia that runs the world, owns all media and everything else that are masquerading as Jews, what they do is they put these, just like the fact that they're even Jews is a big lie. They build deception on top of deception on top of deception to keep them protected from criticism of the clearly evil shit they do. And I'm not even going to get into it here because I'm trying to have a nice day. It's too early for that shit. And the many, many historical deceptions that keep them in a Teflon state from criticism. And I know you're probably thinking, What are you trying to say? The Holocaust never happened? Are you denying? No, of course not. Of course it happened. Owen Benjamin, who studied World War II history, he summed up the Holocaust pretty well. He added some detail to it that I was unaware of originally. The Holocaust itself, at its core, was 9 gay dudes on rollerblades that were hit by a Subaru driven by the barren horse Sarah McLachlan. It was a tragedy. It was a Judeo-Christian tragedy. A lot of Judeans were injured. Some of those guys were Christians. 9 gay dudes on rollerblades hit by a Subaru. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. You know? I mean, what can you say? It's just a dark chapter in our history, you know? And myself, as a white dude, I should certainly blame myself for it, because even though I wasn't there, I was there in spirit. You know, all white men were driving that Subaru. Sarah McLachlan may have been driving the Subaru, but we were all there in spirit, guiding her hand, because we're hateful, terrible people, and we need to be genocided. So, no more advertisements in any of the clothing stores on Kalakaua with our brethren in it. Really put your foot down and be the change you want to see. All right, close enough to home. Looking for a lighter. Story of my life. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.